who is Homegrown Magazine? You know, like what got you where you are? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Well, man, first of all, I appreciate you having me on. Um, it's definitely, I mean, what we're doing right now is kind of like the main reason why I decided to do this, or I wanted to kind of embark on this journey. I guess if somebody asks a question and if they're a grower themselves or they're in the industry or they're in this thing with the plant as we are themselves and they say, hey, what is Homegrown Magazine? Like, who are you? I would have to just say it's something for us. I know myself from being down south and not kind of being from an area that kind of has that legacy perspective or even kind of has like a subculture that's somewhat acceptable.
Mhm.
Um, through what I've been doing with that is kind of trying to create that, trying to have a space where home growers can kind of not only get the education part, but also kind of get the community part. I hear a lot of people in this space often talking about, not having social anxiety and being able to get out at events and actually meet new people. And I think a lot of that comes from just having to be so quiet about it and kind of, doing your own thing tucked away in your basement or off in the woods or wherever you at. You kind of, you do that long enough that kind of becomes part of who you are. So just kind of having this space, and right now it's just a digital presence, but the goal is for it to be an actual physical presence, and physical presence as far as, like you said, the literature we'll talk about later, as far as the book. And then, as far as events, whether it's pop-up things, whether it's annual things, we're kind of looking to do that, kind of looking to create, the culture. And when I say culture, not the way we use culture now, because everybody's, it's culture, but I mean like a community. Um, create events where a couple of grow buddies could say, hey, every year we're going to meet up at this event, and this ends up being our thing. And when we're 70 and looking at our photo albums, we're looking back at, the home grow event we met up at every summer and kicked it with. And I met my wife there, and our wives ended up coming, and they ended up hanging out and shit. And, that type of spiel, like that's what we need, man. That's kind of what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not huge, but I'm doing it because the stigma surrounding. I mean, you say the words home grow. I mean, some people are growing herbs and vegetables, and
Right,
they're still homegrown, but there's still a stigma no matter what. I mean, I'm a medical home grower, so I use home grow in the sense of what
right,
everyone's thinking about it as. But getting everybody to come together and be able to talk about it, learn from each other, where I'm not against a college education by any means, but if this is something somebody loves, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to go get educated on how to do this. I mean, if you want to go large scale, yeah, I guess whatever. But if you're looking just to better yourself, better your own production on whatever you're growing, peppers, vegetables, anything, marijuana,
right,
you could better yourself just by talking to other people who are just like you. Uh,
for sure.
yeah, community presence is huge. It's gonna be in New York. We're so fresh on it. Everybody that's been doing it, like you said, we've been in the woods. We've been
Right,
hiding around, and everybody has. It's not like you're any different, but it's it's so prevalent right now up here that it's like prime to get that communication and that community together. Like we would never
for
talk
sure.
ever. I mean, there's people in my town that never would have said a word to them, but we come together on this one common thing. So having a something in your hand that you could read, or even like a digital presence, like you say, and you'll start with,
Right.
is huge. And it got me to something like, were you gonna do any sort of like interviews yourself? Because not that I know a lot of people, because I don't, but if there was ever anybody I could send your way to be able to provide you some sort of content for your projects, I would.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of talked about that, or the thought has been that can kind of play out a number of different ways. I'm kind of exploring now because really when we think about, luckily when we think about home growing, luckily and unluckily, from a logistics standpoint, luckily I don't have to touch all 50 states to
Right.
cover home growing, right? So once you break it down like that, I think it kind of does give me the ability to realistically connect with a tour, a group, or home growers literally in every state. That would be our goal, to get out on the road, uh, to the people who open their gardens to us, come into these gardens, kind of get a little bit of, you know, the culture, or a little bit of sense of what a home grow looks like in that part of the country or that part of the world. Because it's an international vibe and it's an international feel. Even as I do the posts, and the people that I follow and the people I reach out to, is just not, a United States thing either. I'm here in the States, so, I'm born in the States, so it's kind of starting out of there. And I'm based out of Missouri here in the States too as well. So I home grow here in Missouri, so it's kind of based out of there. But the plan is to spread from there and connect with home growers, come do interviews, meet your community with people. If we could have an event at the grow store that you go to, like, we're gonna build it out from that way. And then from there, that kind of builds out the network and the community of kind of what the home grower is. So, even coming to super excited about coming to New York for that home grow championship. I think that's going to be a really great event to be a part of, because it kind of looks like, I know a lot of times it's so new with the home grow. Like, even here in Missouri, man, like, I'm looking at all the 420 events that are lining up, and I'm like, man, I can see the home growers are still a little reluctant to stepping out. Like, it's still a lot of the dispensaries, which is good. Like, I don't want anybody to think that just because we're saying a home grow magazine, we're saying anti-dispensary.
Right.
Like, that's not the case. I think what this is saying is, hey, the goal in the objective every month or every other month, or whether it comes out monthly, bi-monthly, or whatever the case may be, is that this creates a platform for the home grower. So if there's advertising in this magazine, it's advertising geared toward what we do: nutrients, grow tents, things of those natures. And I think that kind of helps us keep it very focused. When you think about cannabis, bro, you could write a 100-page magazine every month,
every week.
But focusing on the home grower and coming with that perspective of, all right, what do we think about, what do we talk about? I think it gives us a better platform to kind of have a straight, clear-cut message, and not just a big mass of generalized information that kind of has, like, our customers saying, all right, or our follower, or however we describe, our supporters saying, all right, I follow this, but this is another weed outlet. I think it gives us a better opportunity to say, nah, the articles, the stories we tell, the information we provide, it speaks directly to who this person is in the culture and in the community, not the community as a whole. And nothing against anybody else, or, dispensaries, or whatever the case may be. I mean, I get it. There have been plenty of times on the road, previous to me having the privilege of tasting all this good homegrown product everywhere I go. I mean, you're going to hit a dispensary, and the folks that work there are usually good people, paying their bills, whatever the case may be. So it's no knock on that at all. It's just we're focused on pumping up the home growers and what the home growers going to do. So big shout out to all the home growers out there everywhere.
No, and I appreciate that. When I saw it, at first it blew my mind that I had never seen it before. Like,
right.
It just seems like it was something that should have been there from a lot, like back with like High Times. You know what I mean? Like, homegrown mag. It's got a fucking ring to it that really.
I think of it like this: like, when you really think about it, man. Prior to what's going on now, when have people ever really describe a person growing their cannabis at home as a home grower? I think it's one of those things that legalization kind of brought, unintentionally. Like, even it's a very comfortable term. Like you said, you say home grower, we all know what that thinks about, but it's so inclusive of everything. Because I think we all can agree, once you learn the ins and outs of growing this plant and how finicky she can be and all the nuances with it, I guarantee you can grow a cucumber.
Right.
Like, I guarantee you can grow some okra. So if we really think about home growing, man, it's like, that's why when somebody says, hey, when you say home growing what? I'm like, man, whatever you choose.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I run into you at the grocery store and you're getting what you need to get for your culinary garden or your kitchen garden, we're both homegrown. And if I'm picking up what I need for my medicinal garden, we may run into each other at the farmer's market and swap it out. Right. You never know. But that's kind of how, I think of it. Like, I think legalization kind of gave this platform to kind of be able to have this, this space that we're in now, where we can have the ability to Somebody said I suck at veggies. Ah, man, that's terrible. um,
I can't
but
grow
yeah,
veggies to save my life. Sorry.
even what you're doing, like, man, I always talk to my buddies, and I don't mean to kind of go too far off, but I always, it's just not the home grow. There are many of us that have been involved in what this plant brings, whether from the financial, for whatever side you come from. Um, and there's so many people that I know right now who are kind of struggling with, all right, can this be something can I make a career out of? Can this
Right.
be something I can step outside step outside the darkness from in a sense. And I'm kind of glad that the home grow thing is kind of coming about that way because it gives a platform for you to do what you do from the media side,
Right.
and it gives a chance for me to what I'm doing also from the media side. Uh, so it's kind of like, man, it's a great opportunity for folks to kind of get out there and man and find their way and figure out their spaces. I mean, we're the ones that have been putting in R&D for the
Yeah.
last 2 decades on this, just enjoying it,
Yeah.
just as consumers. So if there's anybody that that deserves to step in the space right now kind of capitalize on what's going on is all the people that have
Yeah.
been, it's us. So, I encourage everybody to step out, man, and find a way. And that's also what the magazine is about too. Would love to grow it to a point where, that's a source or that's a source where people can post, one that adds to some sort of because I mean, right now, I think I was just joking with a buddy. I mean, if you're a video editor or if you're on that back end side of content and you're in cannabis space right now, the door is wide open.
Hmm.
Everybody's doing what you and I are doing, but very few know how to take what you and I are doing right now and splice it up,
Right.
chop it up, turn it into a month's worth of reels,
Yeah.
or really put that editing twist on it. So it's so much room for everybody in this space, and it's just not dealing with the plan in hand. It's just now's the time in a sense. I like to think of.
So I like what you were saying about being excited about coming to the Grow Champion, the Home Growers
Right.
Championship in New York. I'm in there. That's awesome. Um, so you'll be on site.
I will actually be there
That's
on
awesome.
site covering that. Those guys reached out to me some time ago and asked, would I like to come as media, just cover it. And I think it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah.
Super exciting time. So, like I said, and that's kind of part of what we're doing as far as traveling around. Um, Not only just getting the message out of in a funny way, us getting our message out is really highlighting what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
What the
Absolutely.
home growers are doing. We're not home grower. I'm not a home grow pro. I'm not a home grow expert. I'm posting stuff here out of my garden because I know as the brand that we should be doing. But the
Right.
objective, man, is to be so much on the road that I don't even have time or there's no space for me to post what I'm doing here or I'm just posting what I do here if somebody asks. I mean, the real goal is for this page just to be flooded with what the home growers are doing
Community.
across the globe.
Yeah.
I do have a couple people like there are people who have sent me, hey, do you mind, can you post this for me? Or, so that does happen. And, we don't charge. I'm not charging if anybody, any home grower
Right.
slides in my messages saying, hey bro, can you I want to show me some love, or hey, you're in a spot that's a little less friendly where where you can't just jump out there in the open, but you want somebody to brag with, or you want to kind of show off what you're doing. People slide me stuff too all the time in that manner too. But yes, I will be in New York for that, man. Super excited about it.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So I imagine you talked to Justin. So you probably already have a ticket. I was gonna say if you didn't have one, I'd float you one to get you there. That's awesome.
Oh man, if I didn't have one, I would be coming now.
Right.
Because I already know that's somewhere I want to be, man. And like I said, just even with where it's being held at, and certain times where you see certain venues where events are held at, you kind of know the people that are doing them. Probably more than likely, will be some decent people that you would want to align with. So
Hmm.
that's a part of it too. Just being a part of some dope stuff too. That's the goal also.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be. I think that event's gonna be amazing. It's first of its kind. I mean, I was at one. It was the first New York State. It was like a cannabis festival. It wasn't a cup or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, Down in like our southern tier, but I went there and there was only 5 booths. 5 booths. They were at like a county fairground with a huge bar, but there was like nobody there. And it blew my mind, first off, because it was it's so popular that I figured there would
Right.
be tons of at least dispensaries or like out of staters coming in like they usually do at those events, but there was nobody there. Blew my mind. My wife, who she's not in it, she's like, wow, she's like, I expected more people to be here. I'm like, no shit, right? Like, no shit. So I
Right.
can't wait to go here in June because I know that it's gonna show out. Like, there's gonna be people on top of
Oh yeah.
people on top of 70 entries for just flower alone. That's insane. It's insane. Like, we're gonna smoke the judges out. I don't know how in the grand scheme of it, I don't know how you're accurately judging anything after smoking 2 ounces of bud, and a pipe
It's
is a
gonna be
different
crazy.
competitor every time. But God bless them. God bless them. I just think it's going to be a great time. I mean, I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it to have a good time,
Right.
and get the brand out there. Again, it's more about that community awareness. It's about I'm not necessarily thinking global yet, but whenever I think about the name of your project, I feel like you're gonna be global. I really
Man,
do
you know,
feel that, and you're gonna have affiliates and partners, and you're not gonna have to go to New York. You may
right.
want to, but you're not gonna have to because you're gonna have to go somewhere else, and that's just people need to hear that there's somebody around like you
For
because you're
sure.
going to need those people to be your affiliates and your partners, and it's I'm glad to be able to just talk to you about this because it's I feel like in the long run it's gonna benefit me just to get my name out there, but benefits you because you've got this is some potential. I feel like
Yeah, it's one of those. Man, and honestly, I feel like it's one of those type of projects that's just kind of it naturally bursts collaboration. Like sometimes when you come with, and a lot of things are so organic. When I started off with the book, like I said, I'm no expert in growing, but I think the biggest shit for me, man, is just moving from the South to an area where it was fully legal and then realizing at that point that shit hangs over you so much to you really don't even get to live the life you truly want to live until you get from under that cloak and then you're like damn I can breathe because honestly man I usually just go to work you know handle my biz do whatever so that's really not a major concern for me or any shit I'm gonna get into like prior to moving here the most my biggest concern it's fucking weed.
yeah,
you know,
finding where you're gonna get
getting
it.
caught,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Getting jammed up with some weed. So when you take that away, it almost in a sense, the
it's
creative side
liberating.
comes back. You say now I can breathe, now I
Yeah,
can create. And
absolutely.
kind of in that space, I kind of was, create this idea or was birthed with this idea. Like, man, I wonder how many more people out there right now are just kind of thinking like, you know what, like this is my shit, and I'm glad that this is my shit, and I'm no longer ashamed that this is the shit that I like to do. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go full fledged on this shit. Like a
Absolutely.
be excited like a 3-year-old kid once again. I keep hearing that a lot lately. Like um, start doing things and being in that mode where you're excited, just like you were when you were a kid about certain shit.
Yeah, for real.
Um, and that's how I kind of feel about this cannabis project. So, and that's why I really love the part about because even tomorrow, like I'm not a super I'm definitely not an introvert, but at the same time, I'm not a super always outwardly going live person, right?
Right.
So when you kind of think about it, just thinking, man, I'm about to be able to meet so many people in this space, and it's really just because I genuinely want to tell them, like, yeah, we fucking here now, like. You know what I'm saying? Like this our shit right now. Like what you want to do
Yeah.
with this shit, bro? You want to write some shit? You want to do content? Um, you
I'm
want to curate events? Do you want to travel the country with me and find the best flower? How about, you and I curate an event together with some of the best flower that we find across the country and get these guys? Because honestly, you got to think when I travel or when I go places, man, they're like two different people that you meet. You kind of meet home growers who are kind of in the space like myself saying, you know what, I'm just glad to be part of the community and part of, and be connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that home growers that I already know that this is going to be a brand one day.
Right.
Like I'm building it out right now. I want to, so at the same time, I want to give both of those people the opportunity to kind of push forward. The guy who's just looking, or gal who's just looking for community to find something to be at. Come to our annual event. Come to our regional event. Um, or that other person, hey, let's connect. How about, let's curate an event in your area. I'm going to get some more media behind it. This will be your opportunity to kind of do that. Like, I feel like now is the time for all of that.
Yeah,
So
no,
even when I collab with,
it'll
you
pass
know,
you by.
yeah, man, when I collab with different photographers and stuff like that, it's just one of those projects where I have to have the people with me.
Mhm.
Like I can't even do this shit by myself. It would make no sense.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
It
You're just
wouldn't
gonna
be.
be
I
high, hanging
I'll be
around
another bro.
yourself.
I would be another person in the sea of cannabis content creators that we all love, that we
Mhm.
all probably got our initial education from.
Right.
I would just be another one of them in the sea of that. And there's no shade to anybody, but I feel like now we need something different. Like we need that kind of intermediary space where every guy's not looking to film what he does 24/7 in the grow tent, but at the same time, I do want to be part of something.
Right.
And that's kind of like what that represents, without going that deep into it.
No, I think that's what everyone's thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I have a few friends who I've grown up with, like you said, my boys that aren't as open about it as I am because, like you said, as soon as you moved somewhere where it was legal, I lived here and watched it change legal, so I was like, I'm fucking everywhere. I'm going.
Right.
Boom. If I can do it, I'm doing it just because I've never been able to do it before. And you do see some people still kind of holding back. And not that I'm really pushing or wanting to push anybody to do something that they don't want to do, but I can see in their eyes these people that I grew up with or I've met over the years, and you want to come over here and you want to partake in this, but you're worried what these few people here say. But what I always think about and say to them, those people are thinking the same exact damn thing. They want to come over here as well. They want to come over here too, and it's just getting rid of that stigma that everybody has. It's no longer our parents or our parents' parents looking at us saying, "Oh, you're never going to amount to anything because you're smoking." I know people that smoke that taught me in high school. It's like,
Right.
I never would have had that inclination to think that they did, but they themselves, being a teacher and educator, thought, well, what the hell's the point of like hiding it now? Like, and they thought that, and I may ramble, but they thought that because honestly, I think because it would help somebody else. Like, wow, this is a respected person. It doesn't always need to be a teacher. Somebody who's willing to come on camera and show their face. And I was going to ask you, do you care if I smoke? Because I'll probably light up a doob before the end of this. But
You said me?
yeah. No, I'm saying like anybody.
I'm on your show. Like, man, if that's what you do that. Like, I was like, hey, I'm not gonna smoke on this shit because I'm like, I don't, because hey, I know a lot of times I don't do a lot of shit I would like to do because I know that I'm still getting adjusted to the algorithm as far as it pertains to cannabis content too. So it's like a lot of shit I try to, dance around, but nah, man, do your thing. Like I'm cool with all of that. I don't have a problem with any of that, man.
So
Do your thing how you do it.
Oh, I will. So the giveaways that you're doing, the 420
Right.
giveaway that we talked about, that's just a freebie. I think you're using the wrong word because you're just giving that shit away, which is
Just
amazing.
a giveaway,
That's
man.
amazing. I'm gonna post it and put 3 friends.
For sure.
And I'm gonna rock that fucking hat. That's awesome. You don't usually see somebody offer it up just to anybody who does the requirements.
And one of my buddies was, I feel like, the seed space was like the first space I ever saw, like where you're just expected to get free shit when you buy something.
Right.
So it's like that thought process of me kind of came from like, how we purchase our seeds and shit like that. Like, I'm always, if I buy some seeds now and I don't get some seeds for free, I feel like you're just a shitty. Like I'm judging you as a seed company. Like, damn, nothing free. So I know that I've been successful in the space that I'm in as a professional, for some time now. And I have to be for sure not to step in this space and automatically think that I should be held in a particular regard or any other thing like that. So the same way, almost 2 decades ago, I kind of built up my career and things like that, coming in willing to not always attach an invoice to a job and willing to always kind of show, hey, this is how I'm coming, so I'm coming type scenario. So even, I kind of want that to be kind of, the basis of what we're doing. Like, of course, for sure, the ultimate goal is for me to be able to transition away, and and this is what the back end of my career looks like, totally into canvas. Like I am looking for this thing to be something that can be sustainable to the point where, hey, this can be what I'm doing 24/7. But at the same time, though, it's a lot of give back in this too, and not being afraid to step out there and saying, hey, I just don't want you to support me just because I'm another guy coming out here saying, hey, support what we're doing. It's also because, hey, I'm gonna make sure that I contribute to kind of and to the culture in itself,
No,
for sure. So
you're going to
that'll
give
start.
people the
I think
confidence to
that's going to
contribute.
start at 4:20 a.m. So I'm gonna kick that out 4:20 a.m. We'll give away some hats, man. I'll be in Kansas City tomorrow.
Nice.
Not exactly sure where I'll be in Kansas City at right now, but we'll be in KC tomorrow and the surrounding area. Probably giving away some hats, connecting with people. That whole thing, man. Whole 420 um, experience.
Right. Is it just you?
Man, so right now, man, everything that you see going on is primarily me.
Okay.
So I definitely have I highly encourage anybody that's serious about building anything out in this space, man. Don't be afraid to use Fiverr. I
Right.
mean, I'm sorry, in Upwork. Um, so right now, like the team I use to kind of build the marketing pieces and to help put the book and actual magazine together, I work with them, from Upwork.
Okay.
But just on the field, man, it's just me, the guys, whoever with me. One of my bros flew up here uh, today to kind of be kicking with me tomorrow and stuff. So right now, man, since we've been partaking in the culture for so long, it's really just natural, second nature to kind of now be approaching it from this way. So officially, I'm a one man, but unofficially, nah, I definitely got a team of people that rock with me when it's time to pull the team out.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I was gonna say I feel like you've got people in your pocket, not pocket, people in your back pocket willing to help you out, but
For
you
sure,
you run it like in.
must be the fire.
Hang on. Fucking house burned
But,
down.
you know, yeah, I
No,
got
it
some better
didn't.
lighting now too.
What's that?
I said I got some better lighting now too.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, no, I was just burning. It was too sticky icky for the fire alarm. I'm right underneath it, so no better next time. So, so yeah, no, we were pretty much getting into the talking about your book.
Right.
Um, I wanted to finish up. I know we were on the merch and the 420 giveaway, but the other merch, is there gonna be like T-shirts or stickers or anything else popping off that we got to be on the lookout for? And if so, can you send like automated emails out about that stuff so I can get myself a sick
For
T-shirt?
sure. So, man, honest, I just came today from connecting with. So we're in Missouri right now, but we're in a kind of rural area of Missouri. So I just left today from dealing with my t-shirt guy.
Nice.
It's a cannabis focused media outlet with the emphasis on the home grower. So there's not a huge thing like, oh, we got to come. Like I'm not the type of, I don't want to build the type of brand or anything like that where, oh, people make shirts, so we got to do shirts, or people make
Right.
hats, we got to
Right.
do hats. So if we do a shirt or we do a hat, like these are giveaway hats. But if we step out with a nice hat that has a decent price, you're gonna like that hat. The details are
Right.
gonna be there. Like this is gonna be a hat where we step out with a t-shirt. This gonna be the type of t-shirt that you can throw on a denim coat with, take your lady out for a little evening, and you know, as a
Mhm.
grower, as a home grower, you're looking halfway decent.
Right.
So that's the kind of effort we're putting into it right now. You know, how is it as a cannabis company, not just trying to follow the mold of every other brand? How do we create t-shirts, pieces that really speak to who we are, but in a functional way? We
Yeah.
want to wear our favorite shirt in the tent for the next 3-4 seasons.
Right.
I don't want to be throwing this bad boy away 2 summers from now because it's fading so right now we're in that process, finding the best quality weighted shirts, the best print method, and then from there we'll 100% start that push. I think the best way now for customers to kind of get or people who are interested in just what we're doing overall, just not even on the buying merch side, but just the following what we're doing, it's at homegrowmagazine.net.
Right.
That's the best way because on there you can actually email us and you can actually get on the mailing list.
Okay.
And that's where most of our products are going to launch. Even when the book is ready, of course you'll be able to go on Amazon, all the typical publishing houses and get that book. But for sure, I want to be able to be at an event or have you come to homegrowmagazine.net and get a copy of it too.
Nice. Yeah,
So yeah, the
I'll throw that flyer
merchandising,
up too for you.
yeah, all that's on the way, man. That'll all be part of it.
So the book, can you give like a timeline on when you expect to drop it out?
So um, right now the plan is to possibly start some pre-orders like May the 1st,
Okay.
and the book itself going to print like maybe around the 5th, maybe around Cinco de Mayo. So about the book, I never really claimed, or I'm not making a claim to myself as to be a master grower or anybody like that that's a guru of growing, any of those type of things.
Hmm.
This book, Homegrown Magazine presents, confidentially grown. The way I kind of came up with the title is because at the time when I was here shooting footage that I thought would be a part of the book, I was doing it all confidential. I had a mask on. Because I work in a higher education setting, so I work around a lot of college kids. So
Right.
I was thinking in my mind, there's a likelihood that I could gain, some attention among a following amongst that demographic.
Hmm.
So I kind of approached it that way. Also with the understanding too that as a professional, whether you're a welder, whether you're a cosmetologist, whatever you're doing, you can make space for yourself to do this thing too, and not everybody has to know. It's not this big thing everybody has to know about. So
Right.
anybody can grow with confidence, confidentially. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that was kind of the thought process of it. Um, so in the book, I decided that part of the element I want to do was I want to have actual video access in the book. So one of the things that's kind of making the book, more so of a process than just your standard, write out a book, transcribe it, get it over to an editor, get it put in book format is the QR codes. So in the Confidentially Grown, Becoming the Plug book, um, if you're in chapter one is talking about seed germination. There's going to be a QR code you can scan in there. It's going to take you to the YouTube page where we actually got the videos on seed germination. One of the biggest things that, because my first grow was probably 2012, 2013, something around that area. Back then, even if you're in a book, because it wasn't back then, it wasn't as open to get on
Hmm.
online and you know, it was still kind of tricky to go to YouTube and type in, "Hey, I'm growing cannabis. What about
Right.
Because you're
Yeah.
thinking, hey, the YouTube police is on there watching and shit. They're coming to get you. Um, so that why? So it wasn't a lot of that. So I thought, man, I was just thinking, what if I could just see this shit? Like I hear them saying topping is cutting off the top of my plant, but am I really cutting off the top of my plant? Like,
Right.
how much of this am I cutting off? So just to having the ability for a new grower to say, you know what, okay, I see he's saying, water it, but don't water too much. Like, what the fuck is he talking?
What the fuck does
So
that
to be
mean?
able to scan that QR code and go to a video of you seeing me water my plants and how much I'm actually talking about, and to being able to watch that in repetition, was a huge part. So to me, that's going to be I think of a part that kind of makes it a little bit different than other cannabis grow books. And like I say, by all means, we're not advertising this as any grow Bible.
Right.
This is more so of a get your foot wet. Because another demographic we kind of geared towards the book is, this is for people who like us who know or think we know. Because before I started getting around the home growers, I thought I knew what good weed was. I'll be honest with you. So this is for those of us who think we know what good weed is, and we're interested in now growing it ourselves. Who are gonna come into the home grow space and realize we never knew what good weed was. Right. And now we're really on to what good weed, because it's that freshness. And but to anybody who's watching, who you hear this all the time, and you think that there's this big stigma around how much more better homegrown weed is, I'm just here to tell you, as a non-biased person, it's that much better. It's that much better. The freshness. I come from a culinary background, so the best way to describe it is the strawberry out the strawberry patch versus the strawberry that's commercially grown. You already know the difference. Many of us who've had strawberries fresh out the patch or farm, this is just a night and day difference in the flavor. And that's really how it is with the homegrown cannabis. Like, man, if you're watching this and you haven't had the opportunity to go to one of those farmers markets or be in an environment where the home growers are really able to be out and being in force and doing their thing, man, you don't know what you're missing. And even from a price perspective, it's usually very much more competitive than any of your dispensaries. But it's just the flavor, the freshness, the medicinal side. Prior to getting in that home grow space, I never really understood when people or you hear people say these medical programs are geared toward helping people deal with certain things that they're going through in life, whether it be terminal illnesses, things of that nature. And then you consume some of these products and you're like, there's no way this is helping somebody with cancer. Like, I barely feel like anything happened. This can't be true. It's got to be a farce. It's so dry. There's no resins, there's oils here, so where's the medicine? And then you try something that was harvested and it's only had the hands of the person who harvested maybe a month or so ago. And then you have to sit down because the effects are really what the effects say they're going to be. And then you see what it's like to consume something that they say is going to be your euphoric, and you actually experience euphoria from a cannabis perspective. Right. Or you actually experience relaxation from a cannabis perspective, or you consume a sativa-based product and you break out into sweats because now you see this is what uplifting, energizing. Yeah. This is what they mean when they say energizing and uplifting. So I feel like that's a huge side of it too. And I know everybody doesn't connect always on a spiritual level, and some people don't have the need to go that deep to really get what they want to get out of it. But I do feel like on that spiritual, medicinal level, you got to get closer to that craft product if you really want to see what cannabis is like, as far as being able to treat certain things that you're dealing with, or just being able to get that medicinal quality that the people who are dealing with those issues and find solutions with it, to get like a glimpse of what they experience.
Yeah, it's production over quality, you know what I mean? That's the thing I always look at. Like you were saying, you're going to be able to tell the difference between that store-bought strawberry or that farmer's market strawberry.
For sure.
Not only taste, but most times size as well.
Absolutely.
You can almost tell a homegrown bud versus a bud you're going to get at a dispensary. Nothing against any dispensaries, but they all got something in them. Right. No bud comes out that dense, you know what I mean? And it's
sure.
They're good, they taste great, but you don't really know what's in it. And when you look at like a homegrown bud from a buddy or your own, and it's this big mass, it's like, oh,
right.
Wow. And exactly, sans any nutrients that you don't research, but pretty much what's in it. And
sure.
That's what it always was for me. The money is a good thing as well. You're paying on the back end with the lighting, the nutrients, and all that happy horse shit. But to gain that peace of mind that now what it is you're putting into your body, yeah, I think it's a win-win situation, and people don't get that it's the same thing as people wanting to eat vegan, or people
Right.
not, maybe not vegan, maybe vegan was the wrong one to use, but people who, I don't eat sugars. Oh, cool. I don't like salt in my weed. You know, like,
Right. Yeah.
you know, so
Whole Foods.
it's
And
it's
the interesting part is that it's not to say that every single inch of the plant needs to be monetized or every single inch of the space needs to be monetized, but there is space the same way there's space in food production in the restaurant world and culinary world to be people who promote whole foods and people who create spaces for whole regenerative farming. There's space in cannabis for people who focus on cannabis being presented in that way, grown in a symbiotic way where it's
right.
getting nourishment from multiple different things. So, I mean, it is that space. Hey, we all can't do everything. We all can't specialize in everything for the plant.
Mm.
There's some of us who are never going to advocate. We're just going to be somewhere growing, connecting, and things like that. And then there are going to be some people who are going to go to Washington, D.C. They're going to make sure the things that we're saying in our conversations are heard. And I think that's an important part, too. I think sometimes that we forget, like it's still a raging battle going on. You know what I'm saying? For people
Yeah.
in certain areas, like, and there's kind of like two sides of it. There's like this side of, because even now when I talk to my buddies, like, it's this side I'm on where shit, I'm free, I'm doing what I want to do. They're still
In the
one wrong
shadows. Yeah.
encounter away from getting locked the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so we still need those people in this space because I know a lot of times people in this space feel like I'm going to be anti the system the whole way. I don't want to hear about any of their meetings, any of it. Well, you need somebody kind of being on that side of it too, keeping up, making sure you're not getting railroaded out of any opportunity for this thing to open up bigger to more people.
Right.
So it's still that side of it too, where we kind of need all those voices and kind of chiming in because that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, it's super difficult because, like I said, most of us are operating out of a sense where we didn't need permission anyway. Like I wasn't
Right.
asking for anybody's permission to do this. It's great now that I have it. You know what I'm saying? I can move
Right.
a lot more freely. But to be honest with you,
I was gonna do it anyway.
never needed it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So, but when you have a group of people who have that mentality from a legislation perspective, that's like the easiest group of people to get over on because hey, they ain't showing up for shit. Like they're not gonna come vote on anything. So
Yeah.
we can create some crazy shit, and by the time they realize we have, they're just they're subject to it.
Right.
So we definitely need those people who are, if that's your passion, if advocating and being on the legal side, do that work. All the work doesn't have to look the same. Everything doesn't have to be a magazine or dealing with the plan or being at events. We still need people who are passionate about this on the back end, doing that work that
Yeah.
that still needs to be done.
I wished like that's again, like I've always said it, it's, oh shit, now your stuff's burning down. Oh. Like having even more than just interviewing you to talk to you about how you got to be where you are with the magazine. If there's anybody out there who would want to talk, and even as corny as it sounds, set something up. I mean, people, I'm not talking protest by any means, but
Right.
support and protest. I mean, if people showed up in support of something, but they just sat there and just went about their business, is that something that could happen in states that, I mean, I have family in Tennessee who, like you said, they're hiding in the shadows. They're going
Right.
to a fucking shady apartment to buy a 20 bag or an ounce or whatever now of some
Yeah.
stuff that they still really don't even know what the hell it is. And it's just like, oh, I could give you all these things and start you guys off. All you need to be is either willing to break the law, or or your state turns around and recognizes the benefit that not only financially but by the medically and culturally that you could have just by legalizing this plant. It's like one of those things where just give it to them. They'll be happy. Fuck yeah. Like, yes, we will be happy. Even here in New York, legally, you cannot grow any marijuana unless you have a medical card,
Really?
which is insane, right? Like they might be
Okay.
just now coming out with the legislation or the laws,
The laws,
regulations about it,
regulations about it.
but they
But
I can hear myself now. Maybe it's me. Um, they're saying that it's actually gonna mirror what the medical is. So it's you can have 3 immature and 3 mature plants.
okay.
Which
Somebody was saying, let's say Home Grow Association New York says growing is legal, 6 plants per adult.
so is it that might be my ignorance. I mean, I thought I looked at it like earlier this week and there hadn't been anything gone in, and I know that the way the law was written is they had 6 months after it went recreational to put regulations in place, sort of like their
Okay.
structure. They had to have it in 6 months, but they didn't do it. And medically, you can. So, Home Growers Association of New York, if that's like legit, shoot me something so I can like find a link to go to it, so I quit spreading that disinformation. Um, because I mean, you can assign a caregiver in New York, so
Okay.
oh, my hands are messed up, man. I got my medical card. I got for carpal tunnel, so I have my brother as my caregiver, so he can grow my 6 as well. So
Okay.
we have 12 over there because he has his card too. But I printed all this stuff out, just my mentality from before. Like, I'm gonna make sure I dot my I's and cross my T's, make sure stapled that shit on the wall so everybody could see it in case he got raided or whatnot. But
Right.
even like it's legal. Like, I don't think we've made $500 million off this yet, and it's yep, correct. They're currently adding more dispensaries. Thank you. Yeah. Um, it's I don't think New York has made any money. There's like thousands of people and companies in the queue to actually get a license. They've come out with micro business licenses where it sounds pretty lucrative. You can pay it's like about $5,500 and you can have a canopy size of 3,500 square feet
Damn.
indoors. There's more regulations obviously behind it, but or
Okay.
you can do mixed, like 3,500 square feet indoors and then 1,500 square feet outdoors, or 10,000 feet square feet outdoors. But that's like it. That's the only thing really super available to anybody, because you were saying like that craft weed.
Right.
I think about that as something that it should be available for everybody to do everywhere. There's craft breweries everywhere.
For sure.
Be able to stop in and be able to smoke something from somebody on the side of the street. They're legit enough to have a license. Thank you for sending that. Legitimate enough to have that license from New York State, but it's not the same shit you're gonna get from whatever brand name. I honestly, I don't go to dispensaries because I've been growing it
Right.
for years. So whatever brand name every dispensary has, you're not getting that same shit all the
Right.
time. And that they just started doing that, and I think they waive one of the fees as well. So that's really cool, and I think that you'll see a lot of that. It's not really innovation. What is it? I'll call it innovation. It's the wrong word, but those people, or the people who are getting those licenses that are going to micro butteries or something to that
Right.
effect. I think that's gonna yeah, right. That's gonna start popping up, and I think it's great, and I'd like to get in on the ground level of that type of thing. So talking to everybody, being there and seeing these things pop up around me. Am I going to make one? Probably not, but I'd love to talk to everybody that is. And getting the community together, maybe we can all help those people just by talking about it. Like, oh my God, this guy, uh, Gary's genetics. This dude grows the greatest stuff I've seen in a long time, and he also has seeds. Holy shit! Like, wow. And in the end, maybe you also get somebody who hasn't even come out of the proverbial closet.
Right.
Nobody knows anything about them, but they've been doing some fucking backroom shit for years, and they've got some of the stickiest of the icky or something.
True.
It's That's what I want to see. I want to see it go fucking wild. I mean, fentanyl, fucking crack cocaine, fucking like all the opiates that are out there. You could solve a lot of problems. Just everybody fucking sitting down, smoking a joint, smoking a bong, doing every. Go get obliterated on some weed instead. You know, I think it's a revolution that could happen, a non-violent revolution that could happen to
Right.
calm a lot of people down and give a lot of people a second chance, that might not have normally had one because they're doing some hardcore shit.
Right.
Like I said, I'll fucking ramble, but it's
No, and I think as you were talking, and you think about the micro spaces, and you kind of think about what happens a lot of times, and to use as an example, you think in politics sometimes where the vote gets split because instead of everybody getting behind one candidate that probably could do the collective greater good,
right.
a lot of individualism comes into it, and you end up getting the vote split in so many different ways that the side who's probably not for the collective ends up being successful. And as I think about those microclimates and those micro businesses, man, I feel like one way that the home grower and the people coming into that space can potentially win is you're going to have to build these conglomerates. Like, you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 of those micro licenses come together to make 50,000 square feet of grow space
Right
to
next to
compete
each other.
against to compete against that, because that's really how the quality of the whole industry changes. Listen, we've all spent more than we should have on good flower when we felt it was worth it. I don't think anybody going into this dispensary is truly upset about the price. Most people are upset about the price in relation to the quality that you're getting. You know what I'm saying? Is it the end of the day if I spent $50 on an eighth? If this shit was sticky, it had the good moisture content in it, terpene level was there, some quality flower, that's debatable. That's the part that now that's subjective whether that was too much. But when it wasn't any of the things I just described it to be at all, or anything close to those, we all subjectively also know that it's not worth the price that you're paying for it. But I feel like one or two growers deciding, hey, we're gonna grow a craft product, and we're gonna try to come to the market and give the consumer something they want. I don't think it's gonna make the wave that's necessary, or be able to put the resources in it necessary to kind of make those changes. But a collective for those micro businesses getting together and say, collectively, we're going to have 70,000 square feet of canopy space for this collective. And the masses know that this is all hand grown, because that's 70,000 square feet of canopy space, but it's broken down 3,500 at a time.
Right.
And it's love in that 3,500. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like curation, I mean, even if you look at Doja Pack, some of the biggest brands in cannabis right now are just fucking curators.
Right.
They don't grow. You know what I'm saying? They don't hunt phenos. They don't do any selective breeding. They're not throwing up massive facilities. They're procuring the best shit they can get from the best people they're meeting across the globe, and they're putting together menus to do at particular events. And they're putting together menus to the point that dispensaries want to carry their menus, because they're tastemakers. I feel like that's the advantage the small guys are always going to have over the big guy. You're the tastemaker.
Right.
The big guy's just coming in with the bread, but his influence, his opinion is really not. His opinion is not as valued as the influence. Is just you can't ignore, because there's so much resources behind it. So you can't ignore his influence, but his opinion is not worth that much. It's that true tastemaker whose opinion is simply worth that. Those guys, if they simply say this is the gas, whoever that breeder is, he's good.
Right.
Everybody wants those cuts. From the seed to the cuts to the end product going into the mylar bag or jar. That guy's set up a 7-figure flow for himself, if that's what he's in this to do, or if that's what she's in this to do. But at the same time, if you're just looking to get into being part of it, I think that curation and collective and bringing together collectively is going to be there. Now, that's also when the issue also comes about, because if we collectively get together, I guess, who's speaking for the collective always,
Yeah.
that's where things. But I see in the scenarios like that where people are constantly talking about how the big guys have so many resources, hundreds of thousands of square feet worth of canopy space. Uh, I feel like in those spaces, that's where the smaller guys come together, and that's how it's plenty of guys out here right now. And when I say guys, I'm talking about you know men and women growers who got some heat at their spots,
Mm-hmm.
who have a palate to the point where they know what some really fire weed is, and they hunted through things, and and they probably hunted through it in an enjoyable way, year by year, popping this, popping that, taking the time with it,
Right.
raising kids, still doing their living life, but hunting through shit too. Um, and who's not to say that they don't have something out there that's the next whatever. And they may be feeling like it's time. You know what? It's time for me to take 10K out my 401k and get that micro business. Like, I'm 42, I'm 43, whatever.
Right.
If I don't do it now, I still got a talented career to fall back on, or whatever the case may be, and I go back to doing that. At least I gave it a try. But man, when you start talking about, because I came here to Missouri from Mississippi, so a lot of what you're talking about in New York is what Mississippi did with their medical program. Mississippi didn't have any home growing at all.
Really.
And so my initial goal in Mississippi was to kind of start out reviewing almost kind of doing like a cannabis review type platform. But with them being medical and down there, I mean, it's not like a lot of these other states where, you got all these subset companies that you can get your medical license
Yeah.
through, and it's still Mississippi. So, them doctors down there, like,
Mm-mm.
you almost got to have something from the Pope saying, so it's still, dispensaries and growers and cultivators down there wasn't super open to like, yo, yeah, come in and check us out.
Right.
So it hadn't gotten there yet. But even when I was doing it down there, I met a couple people who were going that route, who were going the micro licensing route, like, nothing more than at the max 3,000 or 4,000 square feet of canopy space. Not a huge initial investment. Definitely an investment as far as how they wanted to build out,
Right.
and things like that to be. But I do feel like as we look at the book and as we look at the magazine, that's going to be part of it too, because I think that part of that is serving the home grower, like helping somebody walk through that process of, hey, if I feel like if I got something special here, and all my buddies think it's special, and all the competitions I win in this area think it's special,
Right.
and and hell, I'm tired of being whatever it is that I do. How do I walk this into something that's real? I would like to be able to have a section in that magazine when it comes out, or a column that we write on, hey, what's the new happenings in the laws? That's the interesting thing about THCA, and that's one of the locations I'm hoping to go to tomorrow is a couple of smoke shops in Kansas City that I've connected with, and kind of talk to them about, hey, what is even the process for a smoke shop purchasing their THCA flower? Like, how is this going on?
Right.
Like, are they going to catalogs, or are they just finding a purveyor online?
Right.
What paperwork do they have to have? Like, are you telling me that basically he emails you over his paperwork saying he's such and such, such and such,
And
and
he just brings you
you check it
the
off, and now
box.
y'all seriously selling and buying weed? Like, if that's what's going on, we need to know.
Yeah.
you,
Because
you
I've
know what
been
I'm saying?
doing. I did that. That's what we've been
And if
doing.
it is, and if it is, that's totally fine, because we've all kind of slept on that a little bit, because that's been the thing since 2018 with the Farm Bill. Uh, that's been part of the law.
Right.
So, and I'm only just saying that to say, like I said, we're not going to get to everything cannabis and try to cover the whole thing of the plant. But I said that does speak directly to a home grower, because if I interview a shop and he says, all I do is buy hemp from people who are licensed hemp growers. Like, how you get your license in your state is however your state does it. But hey, if you got a hemp license and I'm selling hemp or flower that qualifies as hemp when I purchase it,
Right.
I can buy it from you.
Mhm.
And if that home grower can figures out a way to become, a hemp cultivator or whatever, however he or she wants to do it, uh, I feel like that's a space to be talking about. I don't think that's I don't think making that a platform, or I don't think making that a point, to cover or not. But at the same time, we won't ignore that, because that is a thing. Like, trust me, I feel like if the average home grower is one or two paperwork filings away from being able to literally go from tent to consumer, and it's just a matter of filing some paperwork, I think he or she would benefit from knowing it.
Yeah.
But however you choose to look at that. So, as they talk about, those states coming on and having those smaller licenses, I think that's directly who that's speaking toward, and how people do that. That'll be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see too as we travel state to state, looking at how it's approached with each state. As I look through all the states and their laws, there's some states that got some really good laws. Then there's some states, that you can see that you're being tolerated and not appreciated.
Yeah, no,
But
that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
where there's some states like Minnesota, bro, like where you look at the laws, they're saying, yeah, come do business. Like, we're looking for a boom. And then there's some states where you clearly say, hey, we're allowing you to do this because enough of you want it. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily something we want to do, but
Stay in your house.
basically, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So, but then like I said, then you can look at a state somewhere like Minnesota, bro, when you can have, you can gift. One of the interesting things about them, you can gift cannabis up there. So you can gift anybody 21 and up the legal amount in public. So I think the legal amount you can have in public is like 2 ounces. So basically, what they're
Think
saying
that's
is,
how it
hey,
is
you can
here
give it
too.
away. As long as the person can legally have 2 ounces, you can give it to them for free.
I think it's 3 here, and I think it's the same thing. You're legally allowed to gift it. Yeah. I
And
just
that's
see we got a closer look joined up. This dude's like day one New York Homegrower Championship startup man
oh
right
yeah,
there.
for
Yeah,
sure.
he's the
What's
guy
going
right there.
on?
Just a shout out to him. If you haven't gone and checked out Homegrowers Championship Instagram page, everybody, all 4 of you, you better go there and check it out. I mean, it's gonna be off the hook. Going state to state. These are the types of things that I'm gonna put it on you. You gotta do this.
For sure,
It's
man. And that's part of it. State to state, nation to nation, country to country. It all can't happen in one swoop.
mm,
But that's definitely the vision for it. And even as we build, I see you ask, on some of the questionnaires you sent me over, just as far as about, affiliate partners and things like that. I mean, right now, that's what that process is looking like. The people who are seeing the brand and seeing the vision and saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I think if you stay consistent with that, it can be something. And I'll be looking to join with that. Those are the people we're naturally kind of organically building with right now. I don't really have anything officially on paper or any
right.
official partners. But there are a lot of, a couple of things I've agreed to be at, like the New York Home Growers Championship and a couple of other events where, if the motion is right, those can be things we regularly attend and kind of build from there in some sort of fashion. So that's definitely the goal, man, to be as many places as we can realistically, and also too, man, work with creatives who want to be a part of something like this too as well. I usually post with my email on there. Like I said, homegrowmagazine.net has
Mm,
the email contacts on there. So if you're a videographer, particularly if you're a videographer or anybody that deals with the content that's also into the flower itself, whether it be growing it, showcasing it, however it may be, particularly interested in collaborations. Like I said, this is the time and this is a space where we kind of build with those people who see the vision. Of
right.
course, when it has a little bit more motion, a little bit more forward speed,
Mm,
um, then I think there'll be a lot more options as far as collaboration. But right now, everything is just kind of organically working itself out.
right. No, that's gonna be great. I think you're gonna have a lot of support when you get up here to New York.
For sure.
It's
Looking forward to that. For sure.
it's a different world up here. We're kind of unique with the we have some groups that can operate a little differently than everybody can. I mean, these some of these events aren't like on like the mainstream advertised on TV because I think just recently dispensaries got the right to actually advertise.
Really?
I don't know if that means like on TV, like fucking Coors Light commercial or anything, but
Right.
you know, I believe they're allowed to now have some sort of publications out there advertising products, maybe like on the outside of the store, like a gas station or something. And there's gonna be a little bit more of a mainstream push once they see all of these events that are happening. There's events
Right.
down in New York City that are happening. You know, this one in
Well, look,
Buffalo.
if me and my guys usually travel every year for 420. Even previous to me starting the magazine, we linked up somewhere in 420. Um, I was in Nebraska one year, living in Nebraska, and I drove over to Denver for 420. But I think one thing too, if I wasn't here in Missouri and we had to travel, we definitely would be in New York for 420. And it's kind of interesting to see the culture trying to kind of shift. Um, like I was telling my guys who don't follow it as closely as I do, like, man, New York is almost becoming like, I think the only thing that's keeping New York from coming just the hands down 420 spot is just such a northern spot. And in April, it can go any direction.
Still cold.
As far as,
Still
on what type
cold.
of weather you're dealing with, because even in Denver, like we've yet to have a nice 420 in Denver. It's just always just been kind of crappy weather.
Right.
So even so, when you start thinking about that's another thing, man, and that's I feel like that's a whole trajectory in the media space in itself as far as mega events in cannabis. Because you got to think, when Florida's about to get recreational on the ballot. Man, when Florida gets recreational, what's going to be more popping than Miami
Yeah.
420? Not
Nice
shit.
weather, beaches.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be extremely hard to get them guys who are, if you look at the scene right now in New York, there's a lot of California influence. There's a huge hip hop influence. I mean, those guys are already dibble and dabble in Miami and South Florida so much. Florida comes, a majority of them are already MSO operators doing business in Florida. So even you think about, becoming recreational in somewhere like Florida, the only thing I hate about it is, that home grow wasn't on that ballot.
Right.
That's not an option for them. And I will be the one thing that I often tell people, like, if you cannot grow this shit in your backyard, it's really not free for you to have.
That's interesting.
If
That's
somebody's
you
saying,
can't
hey,
grow.
yeah, you can use it, but you can't grow it, it's not legal. It's just legal for you to buy it from them. And you got to
So
be in a scenario where you can be able to grow it.
if it went legal federal though, I I think then, which it might, you know, we might hit that first. You know, like I was saying, I got family in Tennessee. It might go legal federally before Tennessee ever gets the chance to say they want it. Um,
Right.
and I feel like not that it would sway me, because and I'll flat out say I only vote when I really believe in a candidate, flat out. So the only time that I could see them gaining a lot of fucking voters is if they like came out legally. Like I said, you know, it's one of the things where you will legitimately gain followers because you came out and said, "Just do it. You can do it." See you in November. People will vote for that though. They will. Justin, they will. They will
Well,
fucking vote for it.
I think the interesting part about that is, in a way, I feel like they already have, and they're just trying it. They're testing it out. I feel like part of them in 2018, part of those politicians knew that they were technically making all cannabis legal with that loophole, with the THCA and the percentage. But I also do feel like there was a percentage that had no idea, that were uneducated, did not realize once you and until that's converted over, you're anybody who's walking around with this in their pocket is not walking around with THC. You know, that's kind of like, that's kind of thought process that they're going with the whole THCA thing. So I feel like some of them knew that, some of them didn't. But
Right.
there were the ones I feel like who already knew that and who knew the whole gag. And I think to them, this has been an experiment.
Right.
How closely will people pay attention to this? Like, how much about this legalization thing is really us just psychologically telling people you're free from this, and then us telling people, hey, from a scientific aspect, nothing you really have is illegal. I'm not telling you you're free from anything,
Right.
but technically, what you have on you, that's a huge psychological play. You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? If I come out and say, hey, this shit is no longer illegal, that's not only giving you a different peace of mind, that's freeing people. People have to get out of jail if you do that. You just come out and say scientifically, technically, what you have on you is
Right.
not a certain limit. That's such a goddamn. You're really just seeing
Yeah.
how it plays out. You know what I'm saying? So I think the past 4 or 5 years for them has been an experiment. How this is going to play out.
Right.
Then from here we decide what we do. Does it go crazy? And then like I asked my buddy this, so does it mean to tell me that these guys for the past 4 or 5 years who've had these hemp shops and the strip malls and we're wondering how they're staying in business, lo and behold, they're staying in business just selling weed, bro.
So, so Justin, I didn't by any means mean that I wanted the federal government to take control of that. It was
Right,
more or less the only way I could see Florida gaining the right to home grow if it's not on their
right,
state ballot is if, the federal government took it and tried to buy voters. So yeah, no, absolutely. Keep the fucking government out of it. If the state could, that's why I'd love to see every state come out and say that they can do it. Because then what the fuck are you gonna do after that? But
right.
yeah, yeah, Justin. Yes, I agree with you. It's not something that I'd like to see.
And
It's
I
not
feel
as
like
intimate once you have Big Brother's thumb on it.
once you get a taste of it, man, once you get a little breath of being able to do your thing with these plants and shit, I'm not gonna say everybody has to move somewhere where you can, but
Yeah,
once you do, I don't think you're going back.
get
I don't think you're going back to being told
freedom.
you can. Yeah, once you, I'm not here to say that everybody should get up and move to a state where you have this type of freedom, but I do feel like once, if you do happen to, and once you get a taste of it, um, you'll understand, even from a mental health aspect, why it's so important for people to be able to have the choice to do so if they choose to.
Take a week in. So this you may know the answer to this. I don't know. If you go on vacation from work to a state that has it legal and you go back to work and they drug test you for just some random bullshit because that state allows them to,
Right.
could they do something to you? Could they fire you? I don't.
Um,
Mine don't. My job. I'm not worried. I'm just asking.
I feel like for sure they could.
Well, anyway, I'm going to ask. I think everybody should go to a state that has a recreational law in place and just experience it. Because it is. It's an experience. It's not like a regular vacation where you're going and you're going to go to Joe's Crab Shack or you're going to go to a lobster shack in Maine somewhere. You're going into a dispensary somewhere and you can walk right outside and you can light that up and enjoy it as you would a cigarette or something else, and it feels different. It's expanding as far
Right.
as like not really like your mental state, but it's expanding how you see everything around you in that area because everybody's accepting it. It's a state that brought it on from the people. New York's a little different. Our governor came out before he got, I don't think he diddled, but I think he like touched people or something. He came out and made it legal and then just quit. So it's
Right.
not really a state voted thing, and that's the scary part about New York is they could just take that shit away, I believe, anytime they wanted to. But with states that voted it in, those are legitimate like experiences.
Yeah, it's on the books now in those
Yeah.
states.
You can smoke here in New York. You can go out and light up. Like some of their laws are pretty laxed about anywhere you can smoke a cigarette, you can smoke a joint or whatnot. But still, it's like we didn't vote on it, you know. So
Right.
it's you could have that experience. I guess I'm just saying it because it's from me living here. I guess I see it,
Right.
but yeah, no. It's it's something that I definitely want to continue talking about. Maybe like a part two when we go to the home grow.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
it's I've got a booth there. You know, I'm not even really interested in moving anything. I'm more interested in people stopping by, and I'm
For
offering, you
sure.
know, the time and the space to anybody that wants to swing through. You, other vendors, you know, the holders of the show. I bug them incessantly. You think I bugged you about coming on this thing? I bug these guys daily. I'm buying tickets. I'm doing all this shit just to make sure I occupy my brain with it and make sure I stay just as hyped as I can be about it.
For
So,
sure. Absolutely.
um, as it comes closer, absolutely, you know, I got a care pack for you when you roll up.
For sure.
If you don't got a ticket, you got one for me already. Just let me know, and yeah, I'll hook you up when you roll up, man. It's great
I mean,
talking
I
to you.
appreciate it.
It's
Appreciate that.
stay in touch. I will. I'll post this on. I've got a YouTube channel. I'll post this
Okay.
recording on there. Little graphics inserted here and there when we talk about your giveaways and things like that. So some editing goes into it. I guess these videos get shared right on Instagram, so anybody who wants to see them can see them after the fact. So,
Awesome.
uh, and if you ever want to chat, like, you know, come closer to book time. I mean, what's that, like? That's 3 weeks away. If it comes
Yeah.
close to it and you want to jump on to hype it up right before it launches, by all means. Before we go, what are all of your socials and anywhere that they can go and like subscribe to your newsletters, your eventual publications, and your actual book?
Yeah. So, man, definitely gonna reconnect with you when you come up that way. I appreciate you having me on here, talking about things, and reaching out to me for sure. All my handles are at Homegrow Magazine, and that's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, homegrowmagazine.net. It's the best way to, man, excuse me, the best way to stay in contact, to join the mailing list. That way you can stay up to date as far as when the book is going to drop and all those type of things, man. Homegrowmagazine.net and at Homegrow Magazine on the social platforms. It's the best way to stay connected with you, man. I definitely got to get a hat headed your way, man,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
don't do it until I post done to you. Because I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it when I go upstairs. One
I
of those kids is
appreciate that.
probably up because of that fucking smoke detector.
Right, man. I don't want to
But
hold you there too.
yeah. So it's gotta be 9:15 where you're at about. So, you know, enjoy the rest of your night, dude. Enjoy your
For sure.
420 in Kansas City. I'll be
Absolutely.
looking to see some wild ass posts. Post some sick ass nugs when you're there. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That's
And
what's for sure going to go on.
stay safe, dude.
Absolutely, man. You too. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Have
Yep.
a good night, man.
You too.